Hi friends, this is Chris with Josephine's Design. Sorry, I just realized my camera shut out, so I'm not sure where it shut out, but I know it was going until I started talking about going to the grocery store. When you go to the grocery store, I was just saying, if you can, pick up one to use, one to store. And so yesterday, my husband went to Walmart because he had to get things for the property. And I said, oh, would you pick up like 5 things for me? I needed things to finish my makeup mix. I needed other things. So, anyways, I asked him to pick up a 10-pound bag of all-purpose flour. Now, you're probably thinking, why? That's so unhealthy. Well, yes, it is. It's healthy. It's not. It's whatever you think. For somebody who ground their own flour for years, it is different for me to do that. But I was doing some makeup mixes, and I was using up my extra flour because I keep extra flour, for things like this. And I have whole wheat, I have bread flour, I have almond flour. I make a point to always have some kind of flour that is a better resource. I have cassava flour, I have Trim Healthy Mama flour. I've got all the good stuff. So, and I really try to find organic if I can. But I was trying to finish up my makeup mixes, which if you go back to video number 2, it'll talk about that. But I was using up my stock, my back stock, my whatever you want to call it, my back pantry, and which is good. You have to rotate that too. If you're not, sealing it with a food saver or your, food saver bag, or freezing it, or vacuum sealing it with a food saver, then you really have to rotate it. So, but when he was there, I had put down get 2 cornstarch. So he picked up 2 cornstarch, and then he got to the flour, and it said, well, honey, there's no 10-pound bags, and there's a sign here that asks people to only take 1 in order to be a good neighbor. And, and I said, of course, then that's all we get, and I've also learned another thing through our grocery store. I don't know how this is going to play out Friday, but I placed 2 different orders to be picked up at the same time. We'll see how that goes. I'll probably get caught at it, and I probably won't be able to do that. But our grocery store limits the amount of things you can get, and if you make an order too big, they start cutting your order completely in half. And not like I'm ordering 2 of anything and they cut off 1. Yes, they do that. But if I order, they just can decide I'm only going to do half the order. That's all I'm going to do. So, but we'll see. We'll see. But we've been able to purchase things like big, huge 20-pound bags of pinto beans that we can put up in one of our Gamma Seal buckets, which is a storage. You can look up Gamma Seals, and you can look up 5-gallon food-grade quality buckets. We're even finding them at Walmart for $2.99. And I do have some buckets that we're using first, and if we need to, we'll use the backup buckets. I have a stack of 3 on the front porch. I was mainly using those to grow in. There's things like that you can do, because not everybody wants to grow their food, or not everybody wants to dehydrate their food, and I totally understand. And when I was sick, I was trying to find like soup mixes dehydrated, things like that, cans to put up in the pantry. I don't have many cans. I don't eat out of cans, hardly at all, because my mom passed away from Alzheimer's, and I am very opinionated on canned food. And not jarred canned food. I'm okay with glass jars. I'm not great with plastic jars. I can avoid it. I try to. And I do not like aluminum cans. I try not to use it. I do have some aluminum pans, like disposable pans, that I'm going to be making some meals ahead and put them in the deep freeze in the next few weeks. And one of the things I've deliberated, should I just use up those pans? And if I did that, I would line it with parchment paper. I'm very opinionated on, I knew 20 years out before my mom exhibited symptoms because my grandmother had dementia, that aluminum was a big deal. It was in the baking mixes. It was in the cookware. It was everywhere. And, think about in the 50s, they didn't know. They just didn't. We didn't know. I grew up with that stuff. We didn't know. We drank out of aluminum soda cans. And probably the worst are anything that's acidic. So tomatoes, tomato sauce, anything like that. So I literally try to buy in jars if I can. And so the reason why we're growing so many tomatoes is I could put up my own Lord willing, I'll be able to put up my own tomatoes, tomato paste. And even if I just, cut and slice and throw them in a jar and, throw in a little bit of this or that with them and just, put them in a water or a brine of some sort, all I have to do is open that up, blend it, and cook it down, and I've got a paste. I mean, there's just a lot of things you can do with tomatoes. And I will do more tomato purees this year. I've never done tomato purees, but we're there. And I'm also going to be trying, I've said in the last one, pressure canning. I'm also going to be learning. We get a lot of Mustang grapes out here. They're indigenous to Texas. They grow on their own. They're wild. And my husband has a lot of other grapes. And he's been growing grapes for years and years and years. And some grow in Texas, some don't. So we don't have a huge supply. But they're not always great to eat. And so I'm going to learn how to, I'm going to get the kind of thing where you distill it down somehow. And so I've watched a couple of things on YouTube, and not the process of it, but the results of it. And I thought, I can do that. Because at first my husband was like, just juice it and we'll freeze it, because we have a juicer. And I thought, no, that's not really long-term storage. And because we have a lot of pears and apples, and we also have an olive tree that's producing, I want to figure out how to cold press. So, and we do have a cold juicer. It doesn't overheat. It's by Breville, but still. And we keep all the pulp. We either use it or we give it to the chickens. So nothing goes to waste. But anyway, so that's kind of what I'm doing in my food storage and my pantry storage and things like that. Am I fully stocked? Absolutely not. No. Probably about 5-6 years ago when my parents were getting really ill, and my kids were helping, and they did a great job. There's a lot of waste. I mean, chickens ate really well around here for about 6 years. And when we cleaned out things out of the basement, because I have bad knees, I don't go up and down the stairs to the basement. There were a lot of things I was very upset about that had gotten not used. So, and my husband was too. I mean, honestly, my husband was too. But, so now I have very little waste now. I try to catch up before it's going. I mean, I was explaining in the first video, I keep a gallon Ziploc bag on the counter. I know it should be something different, but it's just right now, logistics, what we have and what we can use and what fits on the counter, because we have almost no counter space. I literally have less than a half of a gallon bag for the last we're now in week 2. Whereas in the past, I could fill that in a day. We don't put more on the plate than what we can eat. We don't pull from the fridge more than I think we can eat. Or if we can, we have it the next day for lunch. No waste. I mean, that's where we're at. I had one piece of cornbread, went straight into that was the biggest part of that bag right now was that. And I had oatmeal and I couldn't finish it all. So, and it, just gets like a rock. So I threw that in there. And then as I'm dehydrating, you trim your green beans, so all those things go in there as well. And if you didn't know, if you have poultry, you really can't give your poultry onions and garlic and things like that when it gets too hot. They can eat it when it's cool weather, but not when it's hot. It is very dangerous for them. So anyways, that's kind of my take on food storage. I've always had 50-pound buckets of grains and beans and things like that, but now we've had a hard time finding those things. But when we find them, we buy them. And I do not store rice in buckets because my rice always goes bad on me. So I always put that in the freezer. And we have I think my husband just bought a 10-pound bag. We'll probably pick one more up of that. Though I really prefer brown rice, and I really prefer brown basmati. Guess what? Beggars can't be choosers. We take what we get, and we thank God for it, and we do our very best to be as... last night we had leftover rice from the freezer, and I made Indian last night. It was a black lentil curry. Just as an idea for a recipe, if you're wondering, vegetarian, we do not eat a lot of tofu, but I have some tofu right now. It took forever to get it. And so I browned my tofu with chopped onion and a little bit of olive oil. And then I had half a bag of green beans left from when I was filling my dehydrator. And I actually was going to use the whole bag, and I realized, you know what? We don't need all this. I can dehydrate it. So we did half a bag, and it was perfect. And then I had some the spinach and kale. I was running out of room to dehydrate all that, so I threw that in. And so, and normally I would have put in like cut corn, but I totally forgot about it. And I really love edamame in Indian food, but we don't have any right now, and we can't get it. And I'm not sure how, probably should look at growing it, but we'll see. And anyways, because if I had edamame, I wouldn't worry about having tofu. And long story short, and I can learn to make tofu, but I just don't know if that's something, we don't eat it that much because we are not we are really light on soy. We don't use a lot of soy. Because there's, a lot of arguments, pro and con. So, But it was fantastic. It was very spicy. I did have, and this is something I do have in cans because I cannot get it in jars, is like a heavy coconut cream or coconut milk. And these were from Trader Joe's from pre-COVID. So I threw that in, and the black lentil curry came in a pouch. I got that at Tuesday morning. I used 2 pouches, so what's left, we used our rice from the freezer. We just it was frozen. I put a little water, put a little spray in the bottom of the pan, or the oil, I think I used olive oil, and then I put in a non-stick copper pan, copper light pan, and then my frozen rice. I had a bag and a glass Pyrex container of it. I threw it in. I put some water in there, filtered water, put a lid on it, and let it just steam. And it was fantastic. And is it as great as fresh? No. But anything I put a sauce with, it's fine. It's fine. And then I cooked my sauce, and then that was dinner. And we had some naan bread left from before, because I would buy bread. It's another thing, you can buy bread, put it in Ziploc bags, put it in your freezer. So we pulled out the last of our naan bread, but I'm reading recipes on how to make naan bread, so I'm not worried about it. I don't have the Indian pot, so it won't be as good, but we can make do. We're good. So those are the things I'm doing. I'm also learning no-knead bread methods, which I haven't even gotten in there and tried it yet because we've been so blessed with tortillas, and they accidentally gave us an extra loaf of sandwich bread. So, and today I made egg salad for lunch, which I'm late. I got to get that back out to my husband. He came in for I gave him hummus and crackers earlier. But there are things you can make at home. You can make hummus. You can even make saltine crackers. I mean, that blows me away. I just can't get my head around that one yet, but I am going to try it. And I love cheese crackers. I love them. It is like, give me my baked little goldfish and I'm totally happy. And I know you're going to tell me that's so unhealthy, and I do the healthy version of it, but oh my goodness gracious, do I love those. And I love those almost as much as I love, I know, dare I say, Cheetos. I know. We haven't bought Cheetos brand, in a million years, but anyways, so I tend to be cheap on that anyways, but I do have cheese powder from an organic source, that I can use to make mac and cheese and things like that. And plus you can just use real cheese depending on what you have available. I am still in search of cow's milk so I can make my own cheese, and I have milk right now, that regular cow's milk from the grocery store, and I'll be making yogurt later, either this week. I've been trying to get it going for a couple of weeks, but I realized yesterday I was dehydrating, I was making mixes, I was cooking meals, I was like this, I needed like 5 more hands, I felt like I was just doing this the whole time, So and then I was running back and forth trying to answer emails and trying to work. Literally work. So it's all good. It's all good. But that's what I have been doing, and recovering from being sick. So what some of the things I've been watching. We've been watching The Middle. It was a show that we enjoyed with our kids. I will say we're in the last season, which we've never seen because we never watched regular TV. And the last season is, bless our hearts, it was the last season. And it's one that, I won't pull up for my husband. But I was just like, oh, come on, guys. But I've enjoyed the series. I mean, there have been things that probably, if our children were young, we would have never watched it. And I think as Christians, as I'm a Christian, I think we have to be judicious in what we watch. And so there's some things we might skip ahead on. But anyways, and then I love Family Affair for when I was a little girl. I found it on Prime Video. I have the first season. I own the first season in DVDs. But now that it's on Prime, I just watch it on Prime. And what else have we been watching? We've been watching movies. My husband's been wanting to watch movies, which is fine. You know, if I don't like the movie, I just put on a headset. And tonight we're going to do a family movie via Zoom. So a Netflix family movie kind of thing. And so everybody's going to watch it at their house, and we'll have Zoom on, or I don't know how we're going to do it. But anyways, we tried to do it the Netflix way, and it didn't work. So we then did it somehow with Zoom, I think. I don't know. Anyways. But my kids are all super smart. They'll figure that out. And so what cracks me up is my husband's an IT professional, and there's some things he's like, it's not worth my gray matter to worry, to figure that out. That's for the kids to figure out. Now, what's next for the channel? I'm going to come back part 4. I've got my little notepad. I've been working for my notes, and I want to share some things with you. I'll come back with my part 4, and I will share that. So friends, I have missed you guys. I have loved your messages. I have loved your emails. I have loved cards. I have loved all of that. Even though we're getting our mail like every 2 to 3 weeks, that's changing now that I can get out and drive in the car, stay masked up, and open up my hatch in the back, and not have to touch it for, basically 2 days. We let it sit and kind of, decontaminate, if that's a terrible word to use. But I do appreciate everything you guys have sent. Thank you so much. You do not know when you're sick or you're so fatigued you can't do things. It is such an encouragement to have you guys. And in the beginning, I was trying to reach out to a lot of you, and so many of you have reached back. And it's just, and I know you guys are busy, so if you can't answer me, it is not a problem. I totally understand. But I didn't want you to not think that I wasn't praying for you. I am. And especially when I was so sick. And, there's some things that I'm learning in this process. Some things are great. Some things are like, that was a fail. But if I can save you in steps, if I can help you in any way, I'm just sharing with you what we're doing. Is it what you should do? No, you got to do what's right for you. Please, always pray. Years ago, I would have parents come to me and say, well, should I be homeschooling my children? And it was like, no, you should be praying about it and asking God. Whether you public, private, or homeschool your children, you need to ask God each and every year. And I said, that's what those knees are for. And, so in all of these things, as you prepare in your home to make it, in case, God forbid, we have another one of these things happen, what can you do? I'm just sharing with you things we're doing in order to stock up. Now, there have been some really heightened emotions now. We had a neighbor who had somebody staying with them who ended up being a very unscrupulous man. Very, very dangerous and unscrupulous. And my husband's ex-military, so he was just like, we had to transact some business. He had purchased something from us and had not paid. And I was the one giving him all the grace and all the time to get it done. My husband was like, absolutely not. He can bring it back. And in the end, he attacked me, blamed me. You know how this goes. And my husband only did a level of confrontation, because we are seeing people with very bad behavior right now. I mean, from, what's it called? Anger driving. I can't remember what they call it, but we've seen really, I've only driven twice since March because I was so sick. And I drove this week to go do a pickup of our groceries and our mail. And I couldn't believe how angry drivers were. Insanely angry. And the same thing with this gentleman by text. I told my husband, it was very alarming to see somebody behave like that. Especially for people who were doing, he was essentially asking for something to be done unlawfully. And I just said, no, we can't do that. We can work with you. We're glad to work with you, but, no, we can't do that. And you can't always read tone and tenor in a text or an email, but, we do see that people are very quick to anger, a lot of deceitful behavior we have seen. we've known that, most of our neighbors we're all spread out because we're in between land. But there's this one neighbor that's kind of caught in the middle of us, that in this little tiny section of land, and yikes, they have been very unique, and that's all I'm going to say. And so a lot of people have gone in and out of that property, and so we're hoping that this gentleman is going on and he's not staying at their property. But and it's it's just a home, it's a tiny home at that. And so anyways, but we've learned right now that, you do have to be firm, and you do not need to lay it down, but you also have to be wise. And so I did get my feathers ruffled, no doubt, and we were in the dark of night transacting business, which I did not like at all. It was very dangerous. My husband put on a spotlight, and not for us, but so that we could see them, and we kept our gate locked and transacted business through the gate. And they had to set it down, and then we had to set ours down. In other words, we weren't coming close enough to have it handed off. And this man was dangerous, and we don't know how dangerous, but we also know that there were things he was doing that was, my husband wasn't picking up on it until I said, you do realize this is happening, right? And he goes, you're right. And I said, I'm not trying to make you feel like that, but what you're describing to me, if I were reading this in the book, I would categorize this as this. And he goes, you're right. And so you just have to be wise. You just have to be wise. You have to be wise who you trust in business. We've ordered things even off of Amazon, and we've been taken. We have flat been taken. And Amazon's booted some things off. We ordered toilet paper almost 2 months ago, and we finally got it yesterday. And I'm not even opening the packages. It is our backup toilet paper. I'm not even going to open that. Our very last ditch toilet paper, because it just took so long. It needs to just sit as long as it can. And, there's things like that. And you also have to be careful, who you want to buy from on Amazon. So this example of this, it came from China. And in light of all the illness, now granted, it's been it's been in transit for almost 2 months, it's probably fine. But, it's not something we want to rush and open and, rub our face with it. You know what I mean? Wipe our eyes or nose with it. You just have to be wise. You just do. And and recognize we left China. We wanted to live there and work as missionaries. We are very, very, we love the people of China. The government is where we have our issue. And, but come on back. I've got my list. I'll share some other things that are going to happen now with the channel, and I'm also going to try to get some planner videos done for you guys today. But I just wanted to have a chat and just say, we're here. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for all your kindness and your concerns and your emails and your texts and or not texts, but direct messages and all that kind of good stuff. If you have specific prayer requests, you always can send them, and I will always pray for you guys, because I pray for you every day anyways. And if you want specific prayer, it does not go beyond me. I am coming back. I received a beautiful email yesterday from one of my amazing Bible study group leaders that I just love. And it was how to pray for our nation. So I'm going to try to get that printed out in the next week. And I will put together I'm going to show you several different types of prayer journals that you guys can be putting together. I know many of you already have them. But I wanted to do this a month or more ago, but I was sick. And I have some of them partially put together, but I was one sick dog. And a lot of people have been helping me with things. So now it's like, one thing I got to hunt for 2 hours, because it's like, oh no, I didn't touch that. It's okay. But it's always it's a treasure hunt. That's all I call it. It's a treasure hunt. So, and I appreciate everybody who's helped me, and so of my daughter and husband. So, anyways, but I'll come on back. Now I'll tell you what's next on the channel. So, most importantly, guys, whether you believe or you don't believe, I pray every day. I ask God to show me. I literally ask him, what should I do today? What has to be done now? And so when I make my little list, and I'll share more about this later, I, some days the list gets moved around, and I'm okay with that. That's the beautiful part of my relationship with the Lord, and your relationship, if you're a Christian, with the Lord. He talks to us daily. We just have to hear him, and I seek his guidance daily on what I should be doing and not doing, and what I should, try to acquire through purchases to put up or to use or what have you. What we should be doing health-wise, what we should be doing, XYZ. So I do seek counsel from, godly people and experts in their area. I'm very thankful to have these tremendous resources of phenomenal human beings that, they know the best about how to grow pinto beans. That's another bean we're growing. We're growing pintos, black, navy, and purple whole peas. And I've never grown these before. And I literally got my packet yesterday of my little black beans, and it was this big, and I was like, I wonder how that's going to work out. But thank goodness I have a backup order coming too for later. So, because those are very easy to grow. You grow them, you shell them, you dehydrate them, and then you seal them in a jar with a vacuum seal. So, or you put them in your freezer, however you want to do it, or you use them as you get them. So, there's just a lot of things I'm having to seek out. I'm pulling up my old resource tools. You go back in 1 and 2, I share some of that videos, but I'm also seeking current knowledge, like how do I make jalapeno sauce for my husband? And I've read 10 blogs, 4 recipes, 15 videos on YouTube, and finally yesterday I pulled the trigger and I started fermenting jalapenos for him. And my next thing is to ferment habaneros, and I'm going to do, he wanted habanero peach. I said you could do habanero pineapple, habanero mango, or habanero peach. And he goes, ooh, I have habanero mango. How about let's do habanero, peach. And I said, okay. Well, you can't get peaches right now. You can only get canned peaches or frozen peaches. So, and that's okay. That still works. It's all good. It's all good. So, I'm just going through this process, trying to learn and acquire skills and, essentially self-teach unless I'm watching a video. And so if you have time for that, that's great. You should be doing that, just for your own self. If you're single, and if you're married, or if you have children, or if you are the child of and you're at home, these are great things for you to learn. And I'm just so blessed by so many of you that know such great information, and I thank you guys for sharing. So I thought today I would come in here and share with what's going on. So I'm going to let you go. I'm going to come back now with a part 5, which I hadn't planned to, of what's next on the channel. But, and a lot of the what's next we've already talked about, but I just wanted to explain why I'm not making videos as much. And part of that was being sick. So anyways, but most importantly, I just pray your day's blessed, creative, and lovely. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. Love to hear from you. Direct message me or email me. My email is always listed below in the information section. All my other contacts, Instagram, things like that. I am putting pictures up on Instagram, some, not a lot, but we're working on it. And just know that whatever's happening, you can make the decisions for you and your family to the best of your ability. And you may be great at it and super successful, and then every now and then hit a clinker, and that's okay. Or you may be making mistakes along the way. I'm that person. You know what? It's okay. God gives us grace and mercy. And for some of the things that I think, oh no, yesterday I was doing this jalapeno and I should have run it through the blender first, and then I could have fermented it. But then I read, 5 other recipes where you didn't do that. So I was like, okay, next time I'll ferment, because I have probably, 6 more jars to, half-gallon jars to ferment, worth of peppers. Maybe not. Well, if you count the habanero, maybe 7, 8 total. I don't know. We'll see. And of course, those will go in small sauce bottles. And I do not know how to preserve them for a pantry. That's the one thing I'm trying to figure out. And I don't want a water bath or pressure can, because I don't want to kill the probiotics I've been growing in the fermenting process. So this is a real interesting place to be. But it's good. I'm learning. So you are going to learn too. And you're not going to do everything. I just told a friend yesterday, Even if you don't garden,